Hello and welcome to the Firewall Analyzer training part 2. On this part, we will discuss about understanding firewall policies and their effectiveness in defending against network threats. So before we proceed, I'll just confirm whether we all can hear and see the presentation properly. Please let us know on the chat box. So before we talk about today's topic, we'll have a quick recap about the previous session. In the previous session, we discussed about the installation prerequisites, ports required for Firewall Analyzer. We also discussed about different functionality of Firewall Analyzer with respect to reporting, alerting, and configuration management. Different reports such as traffic report, security report, VPN report, proxy report, and a powerful forensic search report. We discussed about the real-time alerting feature, which helps us to alert based on any given criteria. Today we will discuss about the configuration of the firewall, how we fetch the configuration from the firewall, and what kind of vital information we can gather using these configuration. Basically, Firewall Analyzer helps you to analyze the configuration and make sure the configuration is 100% compliant. We also analyze the policies and let you know how many policies you have, how many of them are allowed or denied, and how many are unused policy we have, and what kind of anomalies we have in the policies. Using these reports, we can always go ahead and fine-tune the firewall policy for optimum performance. So let's go ahead and talk about today's agenda. So my name is Aswim. I'll be conducting this training program today, and I am working in Firewall Analyzer as a product specialist since 9 years. Agenda for today will be on device rule. We'll understand what is device rule and how it works. We'll understand firewall rule management, optimizing firewall policies, configuration change management, standard and compliance management. There will be an initial setup for this part of Firewall Analyzer. We will provide credentials and create credential profile for our convenience, and we will add the device under device rule using these credentials. Some prerequisites. With protocols and ports, we will use SSH, SCP, TFTP, and Telnet protocol. Regarding ports, 69 will go for TFTP, 22 for SSH or SCP, and UDP 1514 to receive syslogs. So we receive the syslogs initially, as we discussed in the previous part, and once we receive the syslogs from the firewalls will be added in Firewall Analyzer automatically. Once the firewalls are added in Firewall Analyzer, we go ahead and give the credentials of these firewalls to make a communication. So what is this communication we are talking about? So we have the Firewall Analyzer installed on a machine that can be a Windows or Linux, and the firewall is there in the network. So we make a communication between the Firewall Analyzer machine and the firewall with Telnet or Telnet TFTP, SSH or SSH TFTP, or SCP protocol. By making this connection, we can fetch the configuration and rule from the firewall and generate various reports.
So there are two ways we can fetch the rules and configuration from the firewall. One, from the device directly by making a live communication between the firewall and Firewall Analyzer, or by fetching the configuration and rule file into Firewall Analyzer. These are the two methods. So how to fetch these rules and configuration from device in a live manner, I would like to show you in the product UI. Under settings, we have firewall settings, where we have firewall server settings. We have something called as device rule. This is what we are talking about. So here we have an option for adding a device. So this select device option will show you the devices which are already discovered using the syslogs. So you select one of the device here that you want to fetch the configuration from, and then you select the protocol using which you want to fetch the configuration. Then you provide the login name and password that you use to connect to the firewall. So when you connect to the firewall using CLI, using PuTTY, then you provide the login credential, the admin credential of the firewall. So you provide the same thing here. And then you provide the prompt that you get after putting in the username and password in CLI. After that, if there is enable mode, you can provide the enable command. For Cisco ASA, it goes like enable by default. Then if you have enable password, you can provide the enable password, and then the enable prompt. After logging in to the firewall, at the end you get the enable prompt. For Cisco, by default, you get it as hash. After that, you can perform a test operation to see whether the credentials that you have provided are valid or invalid. Where is the failure happening? After performing this test, after a successful test, you can go for next and select the fetch rule to fetch the rules, generate security audit. Using the rules and configuration, we will generate the security audit report. If you want to schedule this rule fetching, you can schedule it based on your requirement. Also, under reports section, you can select generate change management, which is another feature we will discuss going forward. And you can provide the notification email address on which you want to receive the notification. You can provide the email address, and you can schedule this change management report as well. You can provide your email address and select every 7 days I want to receive this report. You can select accordingly. After doing this, you can save it. After saving, the device will be added over here. So this is the process. We add a device onto Firewall Analyzer under device rules section. There is another option. Let's say you have hundreds of firewalls. Let's say you have 20 or 30 firewalls using the same credential. Then it will be hectic to go ahead and provide this credential for each and every firewall, the same credential repeatedly. So we have an option to create a credential profile here, where you can give the credential one time and you can use it repeatedly. You can use this credential profile repeatedly on different firewalls. You do the same thing over here. You give it a name, and then you select the protocol. You provide the login name and password that you use for CLI connection, and then you provide the prompt and enable password and enable prompt. You can save this, and while adding the device under device rules, you can use the same credential profile. Now let's go back to our presentation. So from the device, using this option, you make a live connection between the firewall and Firewall Analyzer, so that Firewall Analyzer can fetch the rules and configuration automatically. So this is how it works. The username that you use in CLI, that goes to login name, password to password, prompt to the prompt section, enable command and enable password, and the enable prompt. So how to use in case I want to fetch the configuration and rule manually. Let's see it in the product. While adding a device under device rule, we have the fetch rules or configuration as device or file. When I select the file, I can import the rule file and the configuration file. So what is this rule file all about? The rule file contains each of the rule as a description with the rule number, and each rule will be separated with a comma and with a new line. So that has to be written by us. The text file, that will be a text file. So we will write all these rules into a text file with comma separation and a new line, and that text file will be imported over here. Using this rule, we can generate various reports. such as unused rule. We can generate the unused rule report from rule. Also, the import configuration file helps you to import the configuration file, which is a human readable configuration file. How do you get this? You can export the configuration from the firewall and import the same into Firewall Analyzer. After importing this configuration file, we can generate policy overview and we can generate the compliance reports as well. We will discuss in detail about policy overview and compliance going forward. After adding the device onto device rule, the reports that get activated in Firewall Analyzer are like rule management, change management, standard, and security audit report. So let's discuss about this rule management. What is this rule management? What will I get from this rule management? Rule management is separated into policy overview, policy optimization, unused, and rule reorder. This gives you a visibility to all the rules that you have in your firewall, how many are allowed, how many are denied. So you get a complete visibility to your policies. You can also fine tune the rules for better performance. Also, you can get the anomalies out of your policies and you can optimize them. You can also use the rule reorder to arrange the firewall policies in an orderly manner for optimum performance. One of the use cases that we came across recently, there were some new network admins joined to the company. They actually don't know what kind of rules they need to write. So it was exactly like this, that a few of the network admins left the company and new network admins have joined. They want to write new rules on the firewall, but do not know if there are any similar rules already exist that we come across often if we are network admin. So the requirement comes over here. Can Firewall Analyzer give us better visibility of our existing rules and help to point out the unnecessary rules? Pretty much valid question. So how do we do this? So policy overview in Firewall Analyzer has the capacity to give you the complete policy detail. It will help you to categorize the allowed and denied rules, inbound, outbound rules, inactive rules, and disabled rules. So let's see in the product how it looks like, how we get this information. I go to reports. Under reports, I will find the rule management. Under rule management, the policy overview will automatically generate this report after fetching the configuration. So this statistics option will give me the idea how many allowed rules I have, how many denied rules I have, how many inbound, outbound rules, how many inactive rules. I can segregate and I can understand, okay, I have this much of allowed rules, I have this much of denied rules. Now, when I see this allowed rule, the section gives me clear visibility with a rule ID or a rule number, the source, the destination, source interface, destination interface, and service. And this tick mark over here will let you know whether that's allowed or denied. So I have selected allowed, so I find all them allowed. Let's see some inactive rules which are not active right now. So these are some allowed rules. I can see it from here that this is an allowed rule, rule number 12, but this is inactive. This is a denied rule, which is rule number 13, but that is inactive. So now I have clear visibility that even if I have allowed, denied, inbound, outbound rules, which of them are active, which of them are inactive. Now comes to anomalies. Finding anomalies in firewall policies is hectic, but Firewall Analyzer makes it hassle-free. So what is this anomaly all about? There can be, we have categorized them into 4 sections: shadow, redundancy, generalization, correlation, and there is something else called as grouping. So how does this work? Let me give you a small example. Assume there are 100 employees and they are assigned with 1 computer each. and the network IP starts from 10.0.0.1 to 10.0.0.100. So I have 100 machines. I have set up a rule to allow Facebook.com for everybody. So action is allowed, and policy ranges from 1 to 100, 10.0.0.1 to 10.0.0.100. And the second rule I have written that 10.0.0.50 can access Facebook.com. Here also the action is allowed. He's doing the same thing, but that falls under the same category. So rule number 2 becomes a subset of rule number 1. So with the same action of 2 rules, where the rule number 2 is a subset of rule number 1, that becomes a redundant anomaly. That's how the anomaly categorization has happened. So if it is a different action, that will be shadow anomaly. If it is the same action, that will be redundancy anomaly. The opposite way, rule number 1 is a smaller range and rule number 2 is a bigger range, but the action is same, that becomes redundancy. And if the action is different, that becomes generalized. If there is some intersection portion between 2 rules, then that is under different action. Rule number 1 and rule number 2 have different actions. One is allowed and one is denied. That will become correlated. If they have same action, that will be non-anomaly. So let's see how we find these anomalies in Firewall Analyzer. So using Firewall Analyzer, I give you an out-of-the-box report with these anomalies. So how will I know which rule is redundant to which rule? Let's see it in the project. Under reports, I go to rule management, and the second option is policy optimization. Here, I find that there are 5 redundancy, 4 generalized, 4 correlated, 1 shadow. I want to see only redundancy. I can change this based on my requirement, and I will see only the redundancy. And right here on the same page, when I scroll down, I find rule number 17 is redundant because of rule number 18. Now I want to see what is rule number 17, what is rule number 18. I click on it. Or I can see it under policy overview. I go to total rules and I find rule number 17 and rule number 18. I have the entire structure of the rules. I can find it easily. So policy optimization helps you to find out the anomalies in the policies. Once you know the anomalies, then you can take, the network admin can take the necessary action in the firewall to remove the policies. So rectifying anomalies in the firewall policies and finding an optimization in the firewall policy is the main concern here. Now, I found the anomalies in the policies. I found all the rules, but now how will I find the unused rule? Let's discuss about one of the use case we found. So there were over 5,000 rules in the firewall. After deploying Firewall Analyzer, we are able to see the used rule, top used rule. However, we are not able to find the unused rule. How will we find the unused rule? How can the Firewall Analyzer can help? So unused rule filtering will happen based on the total rules and the top used rules. So let's see how we find these information in Firewall Analyzer. Let's first go to Firewall reports, and there we have a report called as Firewall rules report. In the Firewall rules report, we have top used rule section, top unused rule section. Let me select it for last 30 days. Okay, so I find out the top used rule here and top unused rule here. The top used rule says that 68,616 times this default rule has been used, and 34,000, over 34,000, the rule number 19 is used. So from here I understand that these are used rules. To find out the unused rule, under rule management, we have a section to get the unused rule with its description. I go to unused rule section. Under unused rule section, I have unused rules, unused object, unused interfaces. Under unused rules, I will find the unused rule for the certain period of time. I can select the period of time. For last 30 days, these are the unused rule I have. And rule number 17, I find it under unused rule. This rule, I should not see it in used rule. So let's cross verify. So rule number 17 under unused rule. Now I go back to firewall reports and select the firewall rules report. I select the last 30 days and I go for full view to see all of them. So I should not see it under used rule. This one, yeah, I don't have rule number 19. So that's how we find out the unused rule. How do we find out? We have the top used rule based on the syslogs. Syslogs will let me know which rules are getting used. We fetched all the rules and configuration from firewall using device rule, and then we go ahead and subtract it to show you the unused rule. Under this section, we have unused object report as well. In unused object, we will let you know which object is not used by any particular rule for a period of time. So for, let's say, last 30 days, I have these many unused rules, unused objects actually. So these objects have not been used by any rules for last 30 days. So this information is vital when you want to get rid of the unused objects from the firewall. Unused interfaces will let you know the interfaces that you have which are not being used at all for a period of time. So unused section is vital to clear up your firewall from the unused rules, object, and interfaces. Rule reorder. What is this all about? Arranging the firewall policies in an orderly manner will help you to pick the rule easily. So assume a scenario where you have a library and there are so many books and all the books are thrown here and there. If I go there to find out one particular book, it will take me a long time. But if the library is arranged with these books properly, mathematics books to the mathematics section, history books to the history section, and I'm being questioned, okay, go ahead and pick the history book, I can easily go and find it out. The similar way, we suggest you to arrange the rules in an orderly manner so that the firewall can give you better performance. So how will we find out that this will be a correct order? Let's see it. Under rule reorder, we will give you under suggested changes. Based on the hit count, we will suggest you that this particular rule is getting utilized maximum. So if you change the position, then you will get the better performance. So I see that rule number 25 is getting used maximum times, and the current position of this rule is on 19th position. And I suggest you if you move the position from 19th to rule number 1, then you can expect a 76% better performance. So this is a suggestion. After executing this, after having this change on the firewall, I will show you what is the complete change you have done. So 25th rule ID, the previous position was 19, and hit count was 71 times. So suggested rule helps you to identify what is the hit count of a particular rule, how many times it's been used, and if you change the position from the existing position to another better position, then how much better performance you can achieve. So this section will help me to find out the hit count based on rule usage for each rule, and it will suggest you. And also after the suggestion, once the completion, the change of the rule position done, it will show you the complete list. What was the prior position and what was the hit count. Now, it often happens that, not often, but quite a few times it happens that some network admins are unhappy and they quit the company. So we got one of the use case here. Recently, one of the peers from the network admin team left the company. We suspect he did some damage to the firewall's configuration, but the other admins appear not to be able to log into the firewall to check what's wrong. So he has done some kind of configuration changes, maybe password changes as well. So people are not able to log in and check what was the change happened. So how can we avoid this kind of scenario in future? So in order to avoid, we have to know what kind of changes are happening in the firewall configuration. How will we know that? In Firewall Analyzer, how it works, I'll explain. So one of the network admin I have over here, and when he connects to the firewall to do some configuration changes, firewall will give me the information that this user has done this particular configuration change at this point of time. So the communication that is happening from the network admin to the firewall, whatever the command is executed at what point of time, we collect those information and alert you in real time to show you that this user has done this change. So the question is again the same: who did the change, when was the change happened, and what was the change? So let's see it in the product itself, how it looks like, how easy it is to find it out. Under reports, we go to change management. I select a period of time to see the changes. So January 22nd, there was some change happened. And when I click on that, I can compare the configuration, what was it before change and what is this after change. So this information will be given in two phases. We will show you the differences, like what was it before and what is it after, and also we will show you the entire configuration itself. So this section here, you see diff only will show you the difference. So 28862, that is the line number. So the configuration that we had before change, it set timer 180, and this has been modified and it has been set to 150. We can see it right here. So we find out the configuration change that has happened by comparing the version of the configuration. So whenever we fetch the configuration from firewall, we maintain those configurations based on version number. So let's say today you install the Firewall Analyzer and you fetch the configuration using device rule. That configuration will be version 1. Tomorrow you do some changes in the firewall configuration and you fetch the configuration again, that will be saved as version number 2. Like that, over a period of time, let's say for a 6 months, whatever changes has happened, after 6 months you want to compare how the configuration was initially and how is the configuration today, you can select the version and you can compare that. So this helps you to find out what kind of changes you had in the running configuration as well as in startup configuration. You can select each of them and you can click on diff only to find out the differences. Under all lines, you will find the entire configuration that we have fetched from the firewall itself. The configuration changes when we show the difference. It will be categorized based on the color coding. The green one will be showing the addition of the line. So let's say there was nothing in a line and you have added something, it will show as green. Modified lines will be purple and deleted lines will be in red. So what will I get from this? I will get who did the change, the username of the network admin, when the change happened, I'll get the exact timestamp, and I get the exact timestamp here itself, and what was the change, whether that was an addition, whether that was deletion or a modification. So even the password changes will be captured and shown. However, in case you do not want some sensitive information to be shown in my change management report, I do have an option called as exclude criteria, where I can exclude a particular line from this configuration change management. This will help you actually not to show your password information or some sensitive information that you do not want to show to anybody else. So I get this configuration changes in the application UI itself, on the Firewall Analyzer UI itself. How about if I want to get notified for this? If you remember, while adding the device rule, we had an option to provide the email address for the notification and email address for scheduling this historical changes as a report. So here you can provide the email address. The email address will be the one initially you configure the Firewall Analyzer with the outgoing mail server. You can provide your email address. You can provide multiple email address with comma separation as well. So whenever the change happened, I'll give you one of the example here. Let's say I connect to the firewall now and I configure one particular line. So that's a change. And then I log out from the firewall. So whenever I log in and execute a command and log out, these events will give me some syslogs as well. Based on that, Firewall Analyzer, once Firewall Analyzer receives the logout syslog, it will automatically trigger the configuration fetch again. So you're not going to do it manually again. It will automatically set the configuration and it will trigger the email alert. So you will be notified in real time. Let's talk about industry standard and compliance. So this is a vital part of the product. When you have a firewall, when you have a network, you follow some regulatory mandates such as PCI or ISO or NERC, NIST, any kind of audit. You face the audit. So we got one of the use case here. Recently, the organization has started following the PCI standard. That's the requirement. We need to ensure that our network is 100% compliant. Definitely. Can your solution inform me where am I failing so that I can be well prepared prior to an audit? That is also a valid requirement, because knowing how much compliant I am is not enough. Knowing, let's say I'm 71% compliant, not 100%, so knowing where am I failing is vital so that I can make it 100% compliant. Let's see how Firewall Analyzer can help. By default, Firewall Analyzer has 5 security audit, 5 compliance reports out of the box. That will be PCI DSS, NERC, NIST, ISO, SANS. Under reports, I have standard. Okay. So under standard, I have NERC CIP, PCI DSS, SANS, NIST, and ISO. Let's say your company is a banking sector or dealing with cards, then you follow PCI DSS mandatory. So you will obviously face the audit from PCI DSS. So before the audit, you need to know how compliant you are and how you can make your organization 100% compliant for PCI DSS. Now, let's say I see 62% compliant for PCI DSS. My firewall configuration is 62% compliant. Now, where am I failing? When I drill down this PCI report, it will help me to find out where am I failing. So on section 1.1.7, I'm failing. On section 1.1.5b, I'm failing. I can do a drill down again to go to the section, same section, to find out what this section says all about. Review firewall rule set at least once in every 6 months. That's the requirement from PCI DSS. Details. It says that schedule your PCI reports. That will be a solution. So I should be able to schedule my PCI report. Yes, I do have an option in the Firewall Analyzer to schedule my audit reports, that is PCI or ISO, anything. Let's check something about ISO. 71% ISO compliant. When I drill down, I find I am failing on a couple of sections, 9.4 and 12.4.2. When I drill down, I find out that it says encrypt your logs. Protect your logs by encrypting those while storing it. in Firewall Analyzer, we do have an option to encrypt your firewall syslogs and store it. Let me just show you how we encrypt that. Under settings, I have firewall settings, and I go to system. I have archive files. This archive files help you to keep your syslog in a raw manner for a certain period of time. Under archive settings, I will have option to encrypt, enable, or encrypt, disable. If I enable it, then I can overcome the failure that I have in ISO, the same section we discussed. So these are the feasibility that we have in Firewall Analyzer to find out where am I failing on my compliance audit, and I can fulfill those requirements to make my organization 100% compliant for the same regulatory mandate. We also provide an out-of-the-box security audit report, which is a generic security audit report and helps you to face any type of audit. This section gives you an idea about what is the loophole in the network and what can be a solution. So what's the finding, what can be a solution, and what will be the impact. So let's see how this works in Firewall Analyzer. Under report section, I have a dedicated security audit report. When I go here, I can generate the security audit report for any individual firewall that I have added into Firewall Analyzer. In this section, I'll have the contents. So let's pick up any random content to see how it looks like. However, you're not going to pick up any random section. First of all, you're going to see how many are critical events here, how many are high, how many medium, how many low, and how many informational. So the finding will be, let me see the SNMP setting here. So SNMP settings gives me a description right here. And when I scroll down, okay, I find out the SNMP community information. These information are pulled from the firewall configuration. So this security audit report is analyzing the configuration that we have fetched, and it's giving you how compliant you are. Let's check some other section where a weak SNMP community string was configured. That's the section number 2.7, where I have the finding, I have the impact, what can be an ease, and what will be the recommendation. So using this security audit report, you not only find out the loopholes in the network, you also find out a recommendation by Firewall Analyzer how you can solve that problem. So this is what we just discussed in product UI, that how you find out the failures and how you solve them. So before I summarize, I will quickly go ahead and discuss the moral of this particular configuration and rules. The auditing part of Firewall Analyzer is vital. Auditing part of the Firewall Analyzer is vital because the firewall is a security, network security product, network security device, and it has the configuration that allows or denies the traffic that's coming in and the attacks that are happening that you defend using your policies. So the policies make a vital role, and using Firewall Analyzer, you monitor the existing policies and configuration. So you find out the anomalies in the firewall policies, you find out the unused policies, objects, and interfaces, and also you optimize the firewall policy. One limitation I would like to share here, that Firewall Analyzer is a reporting tool that will report you based on these information. Policy overview, policy optimization, rule reorder, unused rule, change management report. These are all reporting. It will not be able to do any kind of configuration changes in the firewall directly. So using Firewall Analyzer, we cannot push any configuration to the firewall. So regarding the summary, auditing is an integral part, everybody knows it, and Firewall Analyzer aids it flawless. Safeguarding your network from security breaches, is easy now and hassle-free. Conduct forensic analysis, root cause analysis, and IT audit appropriately and 100%. Stay compliant with your statutory requirement and make your organization 100% compliant. Welcome to the question answer session. So one of the questions here is, does the Firewall Analyzer support configuration analysis for checkpoint devices? So before we discuss this question, the configuration analysis, we are doing it based on fetching the configuration live from the firewall or by importing the configuration and rule file manually. For checkpoint, we will not be able to fetch the configuration and rules from the firewall in a lively manner because it's a LEA communication. So we will have to fetch the rules manually. We'll export the rule files. There are multiple rule files in the checkpoint firewall. So we will make all the rule files, rule-related files as a zip format and import it into Firewall Analyzer. Using these rules, we will be able to generate security audit reports that we discussed. We will not be able to generate policy overview, change management, rule reorder. These kind of features will not be supported for checkpoint firewall. We will only do the security audit report. Question 2. Can I get any specific version of startup or running configuration from the application? Yes, we can get the specific version and compare them between startup to running or startup to startup or running to running. Let's see in the product. So when I go to report section, I have change management. Under change management, let me select the time period here. When I drill down the configuration changes, I'll have a section in the left-hand side which will give me the current the configuration type and the configuration version number. So I can select whether I want to compare the startup to startup or running to running or startup to running. I can select that. Also, I can see the versions over here. So I can have the version right in the change management report. Question number 3. While adding device rule, test credential got failed. What should I do? So if you remember, we were discussing that we add the device under device rule right here. I go to settings, firewall, device rule. Here I go ahead and add a device. So the question says, let's see the question once again. So it says, while adding the device under device rule, test credential got failed. Let's recreate this issue. So I have a device selected. I select the protocol. I give in the username. And this username is the CLI, this credential is the CLI credential that we use to connect to the firewall. I give in the password. I give in the prompt, enable password, and enable prompt. And then I perform a test. And this is what the question says, my test credential failed. So here it lets me know that where am I failing. It says that the login name or the password is incorrect and rest of the things here are incorrect. So what I have to do here, I have to log into the firewall using PuTTY or any CLI tool, and I should match the credential sequence with the sequence that I have given over here. Is the same sequence given over here? Is the username, the login name and password are correct? I have to make sure the fields that I have filled in over here are appropriate and according to the sequence that I have followed in the CLI tool. Then that will be resolved. I have a firewall with VDOMs. Will Firewall Analyzer fetch and analyze their configuration too? So we all know about virtual firewalls. So virtual firewall acts exactly like a firewall itself, a physical firewall itself, and it will have its own configuration as well. It's not mandatory that the virtual firewall will have same configuration as the physical firewall. So the question says that will Firewall Analyzer monitor the configuration or analyze the configuration of virtual firewall? Yes, we can analyze the configuration and rules from the virtual firewalls as well. However, the commands that we use to fetch the rules and configuration, we will validate those commands itself and make sure we are able to fetch the configuration. It is already working, and you can test it if you have a local VDOM. Question 5. Is it possible to ignore a line or configuration so that it won't appear as a configuration change in change management report? Yes, absolutely possible. How do we do it? Under Firewall Analyzer settings, we have something called as exclude criteria. Here, we can add a criteria with a template. Let's say I give it a name, and I select on which firewall I want this criteria to be applied. So I select the firewall, and then I provide the criteria based on contain or starts with. So assume my requirement is I do not want the password field. Whenever the passwords are coming in the configuration, I do not want that to be shown in my configuration. So I select contain. I can give it the syntax. I can add multiple criteria over here, and I can provide an email address, so that will give me the information as well. Then I'll save it. So after doing this, based on the criteria I have given, whenever the configuration fetch will happen, it will be invisible to see that particular field. So if there is a password change and there is the exact plain text password in the configuration, I will not show that in the configuration fetch when you see it in the change management. Question 6. How to get immediate notification for configuration change if anyone performs those changes anonymously? So the changes that are happening in the firewall, the sequence, we capture the sequence. How do we do it? Whenever the network admin is logging into the firewall, firewall will create a login event, and that syslog will come to Firewall Analyzer. Then he will go ahead and execute some commands to do the changes, configuration changes. After performing the changes, he will successfully log out from the firewall. So after logging out from the firewall, the syslog, the logout syslog will be also be sent to Firewall Analyzer. So after this sequence, Firewall Analyzer will trigger a configuration fetch from the firewall. After fetching the configuration, it will compare the changes between the older version and the new version. And whatever the change has happened, it will trigger an email alert to the given email address. Let's see it in the product. Where do we give the email? How this works? Under settings, we go to device rule. While adding the device here, we have a reports section where we have the change management report. We given the email address to which it is notified. So this email address will be used to notify whenever there is a change happened, and what was it in the email alert. We will be able to see who did the change, what was the change happened, and what point of time. So the answer for this question is yes. We can get this, and we have to configure the email under the notification section. Question 7. Can I roll back any specific configuration using Firewall Analyzer? Answer will be no. We cannot roll back or do any configuration changes in the firewall using Firewall Analyzer. So Firewall Analyzer is a reporting tool that helps you to know what is the status. But using Firewall Analyzer, we will not push any configuration to the firewall. So rolling back of configuration needs to push the configuration from the application to the device, and we are not doing that using Firewall Analyzer. Question 8. Is there a report to verify who changed the configuration? Yes, we can find out who did the change at what point of time using configuration change management. And this comes under the section report, change management. Change management. Here the section changed by will let you know the username of the network admin who did the change. Question 9. Can we update rule reorder position change automatically in firewall? We cannot, as we discussed in the previous question, we cannot push any configuration to the firewall using Firewall Analyzer. So we will not be able to update the rule reorder position using Firewall Analyzer. However, Firewall Analyzer will be able to show you the suggestion that this is the position, existing position, and if you can change the position to another position, you can expect this much better performance. However, we will not be able to push this change from the Firewall Analyzer to firewall. Network admin, after seeing the suggestion from Firewall Analyzer, can take the necessary action in the firewall to change the position of the firewall rule. Question 10. I need to know what kind of command executed in device over a period of time. So I can get that. So can I get that information? Yes, we can get this. We have a predefined report under firewall reports called as admin report. This admin report will help me to find out the successful user logon, the successful user logon, successful user logoff, denied user logon, and commands executed. So I just selected last 30 days over a period of time as per the question, and I have the username, that this is the username executed this command. So you know what command is executed by whom over a period of time. You can expand this view to see all the commands executed. These questions that we discussed, they are often asked by our users, and these requirements are being fulfilled. To give it a summary again on the question and answer, the questions that you raise, most of them will be achieved by Firewall Analyzer based on the configurations and rules as we discussed. So if you need any more help, you can refer the website or the support email address or the phone number to get in touch with us. Thank you so much. Before we go away, I will request you to fill in the survey about this particular session of Firewall Analyzer Training Part 2. Thank you so much.